Seasoner
and Co.
Welcome to
Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories from a second-hand book we found in a second-hand shop. Try and make sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense of them?
Fun of them.
Sense of them?
Fun of them.
Yeah. Hey, Amber.
Hi, Callum.
Hey, Kieran.
Hi, Callum.
Hi, Ollie. Wait, hang, where's Ollie gone? Ollie's not actually here today. So we've got Kieran and Amber from Please Attend Carefully.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming along, guys. You may be aware from listening to either show that Amber and I have recently been on a honeymoon.
Have we?
I hope you remember.
Should I be aware?
Straight out with the antagonism, not giving him an inch. We did this, did we? I don't believe.
Good. Keep that energy going.
The problem I'm having is the way that Callum is addressing the audience could also be easily the way he's just addressing us collectively. So I'm like, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? What?
Well, there doesn't seem to be an Ollie here, so you must be talking to me.
I'm going. No, I'm back.
Some wonderful sound effect acting skills there.
That takes me back to the episode we've just recorded of your guys' show.
Yes.
Which, look, before we get into things, do you want to quickly plug that one before we get all distracted?
Sure. We host Please Attend Carefully.
The only Doctor Who podcast, especially about the Renegade Time Lord known universally as the Master.
Okay, good. So you're both used to some, like, weird, wacky concepts in your stories, yeah?
Yes.
I would not... I've never used the descriptor wacky for Doctor... Wacky.
Do you remember the Wacky Shack? Of like,
Oh my god, with all the costumes and like the weird stuff and
Lava
the very
lamps
lava lamps and very obviously drug taking paraphernalia.
Oh, is that what that was?
I see you went Wacky Shack and I went Wacky Races. Muttley.
can we have a Wacky Races podcast? Can we do that instead?
No.
I'm sorry, but we're making this podcast now.
Okay, apparently.
Please attend carefully. Is going fortnightly, and we're doing Wacky Races on the other
Oh my,
week.
but I mean, please. I want to do that. I'm not joking.
Sorry.
I don't think this is not what the format of this particular podcast is, so I'll keep some of that in. But back on topic, while we were away, on the Isle of Skye, in fact, I dragged Amber to a bookstore. Yeah, you remember this one.
I do.
Would you like to describe to the audience the thoughts that went through your head when we pulled up to the outside of this particular bookstore?
Is this how we die?
Yeah, it was just someone's converted shed in their backyard, right?
Like, literally in their backyard. You walk through their front driveway, past their house with all the windows open, with their, like, family inside,
Yep.
past a kid's trampoline, into a shed.
No evidence of family or kids.
No, that's true. There wasn't.
Can I just say the thing that went off in my brain when you said the Isle of Skye was, I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm no very big and I'm awful shy. The lassies shout when I go by, Donald, where's your trousers?
Careful, or I'm going to make you read some of the quotes from this one. So we walked into this guy's shed, and contained therein was actually a legitimate-looking antiquarian bookstore,
Yeah.
right? Like actual rows of actual books with an actual man and an actual FPOS machine.
This is typical of an antiquarian bookstore, right? Because the real soul of an antiquarian bookstore is when they really don't actually want you to buy any of the books. They want to do everything they possibly can to have you not buy any books, including being the nastiest people you've ever met.
I read the reviews for this bookstore before we arrived, and all of the reviews were either 5 stars, had exactly the book I'd been looking for, or 2 stars, rudest man in the world.
There was also 1 star, this man does not care about COVID precautions, which really dated it in time.
And I don't know
I
why.
love how you're like COVID precautions. That dates it instead of the fact is like we should probably be making sure that we're safe.
I'm going to be honest though, the shed was probably not bigger than the room that we're in now. It was maybe a little bit.
There
was
may have
tiny.
been fewer books than are in this room right now.
Yeah, if you went into this place, you were within a few meters of each other.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way you were not. Just don't go in the shed if you care about,
Yeah. He didn't like tape out squares on the floor for you to
couldn't.
stand in.
The floor was covered with books.
I worked in a bookshop and I had to tape out lines on the floor that people could stand in. I actually had to have a ticketing system to allow people into the store because we weren't allowed to have more than 8 people in at a time. And I had to have people waiting.
That
in,
takes me back.
Like a maitre d' standing there.
So would you like to come and peruse the books now?
Number 8. All right, in you go.
$8 each, $8 each, though.
That's exactly it. Well remembered.
Now, the good news is he did actually have some decent books, and one of the books that we found in there that day was Our Highland Folklore Heritage by Alexander Polson, F.S.A, Scotland.
What does F.S. say?
Fellow of the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland.
Oh,
So you know he's legit.
yes.
He's got letters after his name.
So it just reminds me of the old Goon Show joke. Ned Seagoon, MT, MT, MT. What are all the MTs for? I get 5 cents back on each of them.
We'll get to the book eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we jump into one of the stories I've picked, though, I'll just give you a brief background about what this book is.
Mhm.
So this guy in the 1920s was a school teacher, and he decided one day to tell his English class some folklore stories,
As a substitute for beating them.
in addition to.
In addition to.
He then told them that their homework that week was to go back to their parents, their grandparents, great-grandparents if they're still alive, this was the 20s, and tell them the stories from class and ask them if they had anything similar that they could relate back.
Sorry, I just thought if it's the 1920s, it is more likely that their great-grandparents are alive than their parents.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Look, I look at this exercise as, that's a good way to get the kids to practice their, reading, writing comprehension, connecting to previous generations of their family, keeping folklore and heritage alive.
Oh, I love an oral history.
And then he stole all of those stories and published them.
Yep.
Yep. I saw through his plan.
Yeah.
I mean, the book's in front of us, so I was probably aware that's where it was headed.
Yes, he is not the first, nor will he be the last teacher of students to steal their work and pass it off as his own. That's how you get on in academia.
Teacher, we can do that?
No, but we're going to anyway.
Did you hear? Sorry, this is kind of related.
Yeah.
Apparently, big corporations steal theses and publish them as their own and make money out of them because if something is published as a thesis, it can't be copyrighted. So all these young academics are having their theses completely ripped off by big corporations who make money out of their findings, and they can't do anything about it.
As if corporations don't exist to exploit academia at the best of times.
Yeah.
That's just crass.
Yes, and you can hear more about that in the next episode of Please Attend Carefully.
I think we're going to have to feed drop these ones, aren't we? So this book is full of all sorts of folklore stories. It's not just ghosts. We got death omens. We got evil eye. We got fire worship. We got old medicine, fairies, witches, etc., etc. But keeping with the theme of secondhand haunting, I've picked one of the ghost stories for us today. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sock it to me.
Here are typical ghost stories of reappearances in lonely places, places which somehow got the name of being haunted, and none could tell why until the ghost had been seen, spoken to, and laid.
Sorry? Like, ghost?
I think there's an
First, get us pottery wheel. Or it's the dream sequence in Ghostbusters where Dan Aykroyd's laying there and the ghost woman.
Right.
I know it hasn't been released yet, but that exact conversation happened last episode. We have semi-committed to doing an audio commentary of the film Ghost.
Oh, okay.
A young man who assisted at a shooting lodge was having his hair cut by the coachman, when the latter remarked, "I see that on the side of your head there has grown a lump, which was not there when I last cut your hair."
But just by the way, you've got a lump there. That wasn't me. Definitely wasn't me, but you've got a lump.
Yeah. Also, do coachmen normally cut hair?
No,
Yeah.
it's obviously a side hustle,
Yeah,
right?
I'll do it.
It's like when my mum, when I was a kid, used to take me to her best friend's house, and I would sit like in a chair in her kitchen with a smock around me, and
Bowl on your
You're
head.
going to say
Yeah.
bowl on your head.
I will show you some photos of me as a child, and you will see that that is not inaccurate.
On hearing this, the lad turned pale and asked for a drink of water, lest he should faint. When he had sufficiently recovered, he said, "It is now time for me to tell my story. Just bring in 1 or 2 more to hear it, and then I may live."
Do you want to hear about the lump?
Yeah,
I'll
you wanna-
tell
you
you
wanna hear
about
about
the lump.
Get the other guys in.
Listen.
Oi, Steve, Jeff.
He's going to tell us about the lump on his head, lest he die.
Just got a lump in it. What did you do? Bang your head? What? I don't.
All right.
It
I
wouldn't
wanna hear.
surprise me at this point if he is just concussed and
Concussed.
insane.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm imagining them cutting the hair in the car, and I was going to say bumped his head
Oh, in the coach.
on the
Yeah.
way into the car. But
The coachman's
Right.
got one hand
No,
on the
like-
reins, the
no,
other
no,
on
no.
some scissors.
you sit in the front seat, and I'll sit in the back. I wouldn't-
It's the 1920s, so
They could have cars.
yeah, they could have cars. I mean, he's a coachman, so that's a weird line. He's a coachman, so I guess like a bus driver. It's the 1920s. He's a bus
Not
driver.
everyone would have cars.
Okay, so the framing here is a bit weird, but the book was published in the 20s.
Yeah.
And that is
right.
when, presumably earlier in the 20s, he was talking to his kids, but then the kids talked to their grandparents.
Okay.
So I
Right.
think the coach we're talking about is literally a coach with horses.
I cut the hairs.
Yeah.
I cut
I
the
think-
horse's hair, so I could cut human hair.
I
Same
mean,
thing.
I think maybe getting your hair cut by the coachman is a euphemism for going to the coach and horses. Like, they're all pissed. They're all going and getting drunk.
You might not be far off.
The kids just not interpreted that correctly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to get my
So-
hair cut by the coachman.
Their
Really?
listening comprehension was not yet fully formed.
It's an idiom. What did you call me?
Keep going.
This was asked for so earnestly that 2 men were at once brought, and then he began. "You know it is part of my duty to cross Knocknamoyne very often after it is dark." I was wondering if either of you would ask what Knocknamoyne was, but it's a mountain on the Isle of Skye.
I assumed it was a moor or something. It was
Yeah.
you have
Context.
to cross
Yeah.
Knocknamoyne.
So we've been there. Well, we've driven past it.
Ah.
Yeah. We didn't see anything that happens in this story, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, we didn't.
And
That was
Sorry,
so convincing,
I have
Emma.
a feeling he's going to have to get used to the difference between Ollie and us.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop you in different places to where Ollie stops you.
yeah, most
So, like,
likely.
Knock Moyne, both of us were like, fine.
Yeah, fine. We
Like,
accept
context,
this is
I
yeah.
understand what
Yeah.
that is. Yeah.
It's like listening to Donald Duck. You get context clues. You don't have to really fully understand what's being said.
And many a time I did it, but although there were strange noises about the little hollow near the top, I did not much think about them. And if they did come into my mind, I just whistled to myself to keep up my courage.
There's a hollow at the top, so it's a volcano?
Sure. I mean, it is Highland geography. Like, the mountains aren't just like a point. It's weird and bouldery and cracked and sideways up there.
You should probably see someone about that.
No, he's not talking about the lump on his head. Exactly a year today, I was going home along the path as usual, but I felt quite cheery as I had got a good tip from the gentleman who was leaving. Suddenly, just at the nasty place, I was met by a big, strong fellow, well dressed in full Highland garb,
Sure was.
but just a little old-fashioned, I thought.
You sure nothing that happened in this story happened to you?
Not unless I got a bump on my head too.
He met someone who's quite well dressed, a little old fashioned.
I'm not in full Highland garb today. He had a drawn sword in his hand.
In what medium? Pen on paper?
Oh, bloody hell. He said nothing, but just kept looking at me. I said in Gaelic, "In the name of the Trinity, if you come from heaven or hell and have anything to say, I shall listen."
I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Keep going.
In Gaelic, yep.
He replied, "That is just why I am here. I was murdered on this very spot 124 years ago, and I am allowed to visit it once a year ever since on the anniversary of the murder to tell it to someone, ere I can be allowed to rest in the place I have been sent to."
So,
Ew, what are you doing up that mountain?
Yeah.
Definitely not speaking to ghosts.
the thing is, right, this young man is like a shooting assistant. So he's the young guy who,
Yeah.
when all the drunk farts have gone up the hill with their guns to shoot grouse.
Yeah, he goes running after
He's
them,
going running
grabs
out,
a bird in
dealing
his-
with a bunch of upper-class twits. And now he's encountered another upper-class twit that on the moor side and just gone, yep, cool. I'm used to you people.
No, he said to him, "Hello, do you have anything to say?" And the guy went, "Well, I do."
"Do you have a quest for me?"
I just like that. This is just sort of a recursive story. It's just like, you've got a lump. I'll tell you the story. One day I was out walking and I saw a man and I said, "Do you have a story?" "Well, I'll tell you the story."
1,001 Highland nights.
I also like going to the coachman for a haircut, meeting strange men in isolated locations.
Do you think that sounds in any way out of the ordinary for the inhabitants of the Isle of Skye, even today?
Are you saying that everyone on the Isle of Skye goes cottaging?
I'm going to say yes, because I don't know what that means. But I think I can guess now.
No, when two gay men love one another, they find a nice cottage.
They find a nice public toilet and they tap their feet a bit.
Okay. Gotta cut all this out because
No.
actual legit family listen to this.
I mean, you can cut whatever you want out. I don't care.
Stays in.
Secondhand hauntings after dark.
We've dragged the tone of this down.
You haven't listened.
You were
haven't
telling
you?
the story, and I was just like, he's cruising.
This is the same energy that you bring to the master, though. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
I knew what I was getting.
Okay, keep going.
I never could meet anyone before who spoke to me, and I want to.
Aw.
No wonder he asked for people to be brought to listen to him speak. Wait, is this the ghost or the...
Yeah, is this the ghost or him? Either or, I feel so bad.
The ghost can only revisit
Okay.
Earth once every year, and it's been
so-
124 years since he's been able to talk to someone.
Okay.
Whether that's because he's not met anyone because he's on the top of a
The
mountain.
time has to be, yeah.
Sorry, 124 years, and this young man said he looked a little bit old-fashioned. Like, he should be wearing, like, a red coat and, like, a tricorn hat or something.
I don't
It's
think
the Highlands. It's Skye.
Oh, yeah, all right, fine. Then he's just wearing a really, really, really big kilt. Probably some woad.
I don't think Highland garb has changed much over the years, so a span of 124 years is a little bit old-fashioned.
True,
Seeing
although...
someone holding a broadsword and being like, they're a bit old-fashioned.
Yeah,
That's last year's model of broadsword.
although...
Claymore.
Tartans, like specific clan tartans, are only about 150 years old.
Surprisingly modern.
Yeah, yeah.
Please continue.
And I want to tell you that I was coming home from the south with some money when two brothers of the name X. Now, this is just them trying to keep people anonymous, but if you would like to come up with a family name from Scotland that starts with X, feel free.
Starts with X.
Yeah.
You know what? Have you noticed there's a weirdly high number of Italian and Spanish names in Scotland? Like Michelle Gomez. She's Scots and she's got a Spanish name, right? So I would say perhaps these young men were called Jimenez. Like, that's a name that begins with X that's Spanish, but
Don't
cool.
leave an open-barreled question.
No, so the format there was meant to give me a name that I could then insert into the story every time X shows up, and I'm not going to accept
Well,
Jimenez.
just accept another name that doesn't begin with X. then.
Xavier.
Xavier then. Oh,
Oh yeah, well done. You picked the one other X name.
Yeah.
who lived at Y.
Yonder castle.
Done. Set on me, killed me, took my money, and then buried my body. As my people did not know that I was coming, the murderers were never found out, and were never suspected to be what they were. They built a good house with the money, and their descendants occupy it to this day. And I now want you to tell the people of the place who murdered me.
I thought he was going to say, I want you to kill him. I like
That'd be, oh, do you want me to tell everyone? No, I want you to kill them. Kill the bastards.
They're Scots. You just let the truth out there. They'll kill each other.
But I like that he's been watching. Like, I'm going to come up to bat for Ollie, who likes the very geographically fixed idea for ghosts.
Yes,
but
this
not for
ghost-
this one. He's been off. What are those bastards up to now? What have they done with my money that they took from me? Buying a house, eh?
Well-
Having a family, are you?
Now, to be fair, his place of haunting is the top of a
Yes.
mountain, so he can probably see what's going on.
Oh, just down there.
Sorry, I like the fact that your ghost is basically the Black Knight from Monty Python. and Hollins. Oh, running away, eh? Oh, you've built a house, have you?
Beautiful wife.
You okay?
No.
It's fine.
He stopped, and I said, Mr. Xavier will hate me and try to do me harm if I tell such story of his ancestor, and they are good enough neighbours to me just now. The soldier replied, If you don't tell, you will find that I can do you harm.
Ooh.
You will find if you keep my secret that soon a lump will begin to grow on your head and will press on your brain so that you will become mad, and in your madness you will tell the secret. It is better for you to tell it before that happens.
What kind of a threat is this? Tell them I'll give you a brain tumour. Sorry? What?
It's honestly a more scary threat than most ghosts can muster.
Not I'll rattle some chains and haunt your
But it's
castle forever now.
But it's also a bit weirdly specific, isn't it? It's not like, oh, in 1 year's time you'll drop down dead. It's more, in 1 year's time you'll get a small lump on the side of your head that may or may not be a melanoma.
A melanoma in Scotland?
Yep, fair call.
It's ghost melanoma.
It's a ghost melanoma. You're trying to look for a pun, aren't you? I can
Yes.
see it on your face.
Helanoma. No, skip it. Cut it.
Oh, God, cut that.
No. The soldier then suddenly seemed to sink into the earth. I went home but told no one till now, and I now pray that the lump on my head may disappear, since I have cleared my conscience. And the soldier said he would never be seen again once it became known who murdered him. The story soon spread, but the old soldier seems to have made no allowance for altered times, and the quarrel has not, so far, been taken up by the descendants of the murdered man. The old soldier may be at rest now, but not a person in that locality will dare go by that path after nightfall, for the lad was always considered level-headed and truthful, and bore evidence of telling the story perforce.
Well, he's not level-headed anymore. He's a bit lopsided.
No explanation was given, and none in the locality ever heard of a man being murdered there, or of any from the district being missed. Neither can any reason be given why the spot on which the soldier was seen should for years have an evil reputation. The end.
Because of the story? Like, that's an excuse for why it has an evil reputation, because they've given it one.
Yeah, yeah,
You've been talking about it. That's, yeah.
yeah. I'm still not over the whole tell my story, I'll give you a
Brain
on the head.
cancer.
Yeah, like,
It's very much sort of like, tell my story, I'll give you a clout around the ear.
yeah.
I guess it's a bit of a ticking time bomb, right? Like, I don't expect you to tell the story now, but like, soon.
You've got about 365 days.
And enough time to prepare the defences against the family who might come after you, because in the time that I was murdered, people just did that. And now everyone's just like, the bastard's got away with murder, built a house, and what can we do?
But I don't think I would take a ghost seriously who was threatening lumps. Like, it's not. I think if you're the people who've been brought over, like, oh, this guy's got a story to tell us. Come, sit around.
Yeah.
And he said he'd give me a lump on the head. You think you'd be like, okay,
Right.
all right.
Oddly enough, I've been obviously reading through a lot of these books, and more than one are being told through the context of a barbershop for some reason.
It must be one of the few places people congregated, I suppose.
That's what I thought.
Although this is a second tier barber shop. This is the coachman doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, is that
Maybe
it?
we'll see.
Like you're so poor, you're going to the coachman because I assume because he knows how to trim like horses' manes and hair and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's literally like using horse shears on your
Yeah.
hair.
He's got clippers. Why
Yeah, that's
not?
probably why he's got the lump. He should
Is
be
he
worried
only-
about getting a secondary infection.
Is the only one in the village they trust to have scissors.
Little off the ears today, sir.
Nay.
God.
All right, that's the first story we have today. I do like to do a little thing where we find the MVP in the story. Now, there weren't
The
many
one who's
people.
carrying
Most
it.
valued poltergeist, or
Yeah, sure, or just most valued person. Who in the story do you think's gone above and beyond?
Well, I mean, the coachman's doing his job and the barbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I think I have to go for the coachman as well.
Yeah, Andy's putting up with this fucking story.
I like the guys who come in and who've heard, hey, there's a lump going on. We're there.
Yeah.
We want to know about the lump.
Hey, just like this guy, he says he's got a story, and everyone's just like, "It's all right. It's a slow afternoon, sure."
I also think that if there's two barbers in town, which one are you going to pick? The normal logical argument of, oh, the one with the worse haircut. But no, you go to the one who's got the ghost stories happening, right?
I like the idea of some horses going past and going like, those horses have got some good haircuts.
God. Yeah,
I fancy a bit of
walks in and he's got a woodcut of a horse. He's just like, "Give me that."
And thus the ponytail was invented.
It's like those people nowadays who use horse shampoo.
Sorry, what?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, isn't that like a big... It was a joke in a film, but then isn't there like a thing of using horse shampoo on hair? Like idiots. Like
Oh, okay, idiots. Idiots
not,
or influencers?
both.
you're not
same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
You're not thinking of COVID times where people were taking horse dewormers,
No.
are you? No.
I mean, that also,
Yeah, that was also
the
insane.
same idiots.
fine line between human and horse culture.
Centaurs. All right, we're getting gross. Kieran, I note that we're in a massive room full of books right now. Do you have any with ghost stories in them?
Well, interestingly enough,
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
I have a book, which I believe you've actually looked at. I picked it up in my days when I used to run the book section of a second-hand shop. And it's called Hell House by Alison Rattle and Alison Vale.
Yes, I think we've read the Australian stories out that book, but
Well,
from memory there's a bunch more. Right?
Oh, there's so many more. And I have here, it's not so much a story as a sort of potted history
Oh, okay.
of the Theatre Royal on Drury Lane in London.
Ooh.
And it's interesting because I've read through it and it's a very, very haunted place.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of, and I did that in inverted commas, listener.
We could hear them.
Yeah, I could hear them just slotting very haunted.
As are most theatres.
Well, that's the thing. And I would like to talk about theatres.
Well, Amber has a great amount of experience from theatres, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can have a talk about theatre myths after we've done this,
Or just halfway through it.
depending on what you say.
Yeah.
Okay. The Theatre Royal on Drury Lane is the oldest building in the world to have been in continual use as a theatre. But it's long
there's a lot of qualifiers
Yes,
to that
I know.
particular statement.
It's like what is his name? The Geordie comedian.
Ross Noble.
Ross Noble talking about how he went to see somewhere in, I think it's Deniliquin, he went to see the Southern Hemisphere's second largest playable guitar. Like all of the qualifiers on that. Okay. But its long history since 1663 has been checkered by fire, debt, and murder.
Jeez, it wasn't standing long before the fire started.
No,
So
you're not wrong.
1666, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It stood empty through the mid-1660s as London was overcome first by plague and then by the Great Fire, as you
Hang
say.
on. So continuously operated, but stood empty for a bit.
Yeah, well, I think the fact
Show
that...
must go on, Callum.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things like it continuous use as a theatre. It didn't become anything else in that time. I think that's its big thing.
It wasn't used as a munitions storehouse during a war.
Yeah. It's like, did you know Agatha Christie's play The Mousetrap? So there was a clause in the contract that it could not be turned into a film unless it had stopped running for at least a year. And that happened
never
during COVID.
Oh, did it?
Yep. And so
Oh.
they made the movie See How They Run, which is about
Ah, yep.
is about the Mousetrap without actually telling the Mousetrap story.
Ah.
It's very good.
Is that why that film felt so rushed?
When the theatre reopened, King Charles II saw Nell Gwyn in her stage debut in 1665 and famously fell instantly in love with her. The Theatre Royal was ravaged by fire later that same year and again in 1809. It was attacked by an angry mob in 1737 and after sustaining...
Bad reviews?
Yeah, probably. And after sustaining further damage during another riot in 1780.
Worse reviews.
It was guarded every night by troops until 1896.
By troops?
Yeah, just to make sure that they weren't going to destroy it. So, I mean, this is just background on the theatre.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's get to the ghosts.
No, it's fine. In 1800, the theatre was even the setting for an assassination attempt when James Hadfield, freshly discharged from the army, attempted to shoot King George III as he sat in the royal box, which was made fun of in that episode of Blackadder.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, now, George III was the young one.
No, George III was the mad one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's the German one, the dodgy one, the mad one, and the young fat one.
Let's not have another George. But there was also a... Am I wrong? Was there not also a Nazi one?
Yeah, I'm just talking through the Hanoverians.
The first
but
couple.
Like, yeah, the first few. Yeah, let's not go into the rest of the Georges. Anyway, now we get into the
The
ghosts.
real horror.
One of the most prominent 18th century actors at the theatre was an Irishman named Charles Macklin. His performance as Shylock in The Merchant of Venice in 1741 was monumental, as it marked the start of a new school of interpretive acting that was soon made famous by David Garrick.
Have you heard of any of these people, Amber? Okay, just
So what
checking.
he's talking about, what they're talking about is naturalistic acting.
Okay.
So not declaiming the lines.
Sure.
Great actor though he may have been, and a long-lived one at that, he is said to have died at the age of 107. I've looked that up. Apparently that's very much contested.
Back in the days when birth certificates and death certificates were all a bit less official.
Plus, we'll get into why that's a bit weird.
Oh.
Macklin was also a foul-tempered, violent man. During a petty argument in the green room over a wig,
Well, yeah, he's an actor.
Oh
This
my
sounds right,
gosh.
doesn't it?
right?
I've seen actors fight over wigs before.
Macklin stabbed fellow actor Thomas Hallam through the eye with his walking stick.
Hell yeah.
Hallam,
That
hard
requires
as
some
fuck.
effort.
Hallam died as a result of this injury, but Macklin escaped punishment. And his wraith has been trapped at the scene of his crime ever since. Okay, so this is a really weirdly written piece, right?
Yeah, it
So
sounds like the
he-
murderer's ghost is
ghost.
haunting.
That's what they're trying to say. So for some reason, like, he killed Hallam, right?
Uh-huh.
What happened with Macklin?
What did happen with Macklin?
What happened with Macklin is that he killed Hallam. He got off. Like, he went to... Yeah. No, he got taken to court. He defended himself and he won.
Your Honor, the wig that they wanted me to wear was you hadn't seen it. Bring the wig as evidence. Oh yeah, that's ghastly. Off, innocent.
Yeah.
Not guilty.
Murmurs and gasps from the courtroom.
Oh, wait, mate.
But like, just the fact that he got his walking stick and like got it through his
Yeah.
eye socket into his brain.
Right?
But the
I'm
thing
wondering
is,
if he knocked him down and then stamped with it?
yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this isn't Hallam's ghost.
No.
So what they're saying is that, so after he won the court case, he went back to the theatre. Audiences hated him. They went just to like jeer at him.
Yeah, because he murdered a man. in the
Because he
dressing
murdered a
room.
man, right.
Imagine nowadays if you were watching a murderer on, you'd be like, no.
Cancelled.
No, I think they become president.
Right in the bin with J.K. Rowling.
The recycle bin.
But so what they're saying is that Macklin died, and some sources are saying that he lived till like 107, right? That when he died, he then is transported to the Theatre Royal and haunts the room, like
Where
haunts
he
the scene of
did
the
a
crime.
murder one time.
Yeah, and they also say there have been sightings of a tall, thin ghost with a penitent, deeply lined and unattractive face, often in the orchestra pit in the
Yeah.
early hours of the morning.
Yeah, they're the kind of person that becomes an actor.
Yeah.
Well,
Penitent, deeply lined, and unattractive.
no. Yeah. I realise we're agreeing. Like, that's
Right. Okay, so there's more. There's more just at this theatre, right?
Are we going to get the ghost of the wig next?
What, like that episode of The Simpsons where
wig
Snape's
comes like,
hair?
Yes.
The most common sighting at the Drury Lane Theatre is of a rather grand, benevolent spectre, of an 18th century gentleman wearing riding boots, a grey riding cloak, and the hilt of a sword at his waist.
We've got no way of knowing if that's his actual dress or a costume.
Right. He is a sight most welcomed by casts of actors due to open with a new production. The Man in Grey, as he is known, has appeared to cast members of many successful productions at the theatre over the years, but never before a flop, giving rise to many superstitions about him. Apparently he appeared to every new cast of Miss Saigon. Indeed, his association with roaring successes and long runs is so strong that when the theatre was recently offered an exorcism, they politely declined.
Amazing. But also, the director coming into the dressing room, good news, I saw him. Don't worry, I've seen the grey ghost.
Yep, he's been seen.
Yep, definitely.
Do you think they employ someone to dress up in that garb to like sneak around corners in front of production? So that
it
people
would
like
not surprise me.
bolster their confidence.
Yeah, and then the word spreads to patrons. Oh, the grey ghost was seen on the
it's
first
gonna be
night.
a good one.
Oh, that means it's going to be good. We should go and see it. It's the best scam ever.
The problem with
It's
actually
every ghost scam ever.
The problem with actually having someone play the ghost is there's always going to be someone, like the inquisitive-minded person out there, who, when they see the great ghost, say, "Oh my god, you can put your hand straight through."
No, he's seen in a way that you don't see him.
Like a Pepper's ghost.
Like he just goes past a doorway and he's
Yeah.
gone. He's in the wind. He's down a trapdoor and
He's up in the opera box.
up in the flies or something.
yeah.
That'd be hilarious. It's like someone sees him and he's just like straight up.
Yeah. Or as the director, I literally just say,
Dress up.
I saw I just say, I saw him.
Yeah. If it's
I just-
always the
I just
director
slip-
saying that, do
I
they not get a
slipped
little
the
suspicious?
flyman a sixpence to say that they saw him in the Gatlin up in the top.
All right, we have more on him.
Oh.
On numerous occasions, the slim, handsome figure has been spotted walking along the rows of the upper circle and around the theatre before disappearing through a wall or sitting in a particular seat in the upper circle watching rehearsals.
I think disappearing through walls is not quite as impressive as it normally is when it's in a theatre full of trapdoors and
Yeah.
back entrances and
Curtains.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
A cleaning lady reported seeing him sitting silently in the fourth row of the upper circle one morning at 10 a.m. in 1938. The following year, 6 psychic investigators saw him in the same seat. He is always silent. In 1939, he was seen by over 50 members of the cast of Ivor Novello's The Dancing Years as they posed on stage for a photo call. Days before opening.
Famously successful The Dancing Years?
Yeah, Ivor Novello. It's a
Amber's nodding. Have you heard of this one?
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
Okay.
heard of
It's an
this.
operetta, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
That's
I'm just...
absolutely. I've paid a ghost to walk across the dress circle,
Yeah, right.
like as we're taking a photo on stage.
This is people harnessing actor superstitions.
Sightings are always between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.,
Working
making this a
hours.
most unusual daytime
I thought you were
haunting.
going to say making this the most unionized ghost.
Although his identity in real life is uncertain, a gruesome discovery by workmen renovating the theatre in the late 19th century puts our man in grey in a very different light. Behind the wall through which the ghost had walked during many sightings, the men discovered a long-forgotten sealed-off room. Inside lay a skeleton wearing the fragmented remains of what appeared to be 18th century grey silk and satin. The dagger that had killed the man was still lodged in his rib cage.
And the cask of wine was sitting next to him where he was distracted and bricked up.
So this is, I think, like people messing around with what they think's a trick dagger.
Yeah.
Goes wrong. They kill him.
Ooh.
Then they're like, oh,
Shit. Get him out of here.
put him in there, brick it up, get some crew, move a bit of scenery in front of it so that no one ever uses.
Yeah. It lost to time. At this point, I want to talk about, have you guys, I mean, Amber, you would have you heard of the ghost light?
Yeah.
So,
The ghost light.
yes, the ghost light.
I'm going to say no.
Okay, so the ghost light is, you will see it on most bigger theatres. So it is often a tripod stand or just like a flat disc stand with a single light bulb at the top in a cage, more often than not. And that is kept on the middle of the stage at night after dark, after everyone's gone, turned on, putting out just a single light.
Oh, for the ghosts.
Well, that's the thing. They call it the ghost light because
Well.
they say that it's for the ghosts so that they can act on the stage when everyone's gone.
And ghosts flicker lights.
Yeah.
So it's for them to like.
Play-
Just like
play
play
with-
with toys. Like
Yeah,
cat
yeah,
with a
to
bell.
keep it happy, to keep it
ghost
like,
enrichment.
I'm thinking of you and leaving a light out, but in reality, it's to stop people from falling into the
Yeah.
orchestra pit.
Yeah, so basically it was invented.
Oh.
It
So
was
even
invented.
if someone breaks in, they're not going to die by falling into the orchestra pit.
They basically proliferated during the beginning of the union movement,
Yeah.
just to make sure that no workers fall over and die in the night. It's occupational health and safety.
Yeah. They're still used today, just standing lamps. Just
Now,
put
is
out.
this like a theatre tradition that people do? Or has this been written into occupational health and safety contracts?
Depends on the theatre, I dare say.
Depends on the tech as well. Like I used to work with the tech, and he would put it out for both reasons.
He put it out for
Basically-
one very specific
No.
reason and comes up with a story.
No. A lot of techs, a lot of people who work in the theatre,
Superstitious. You have to remember that.
There's heaps of superstition, but also working in plenty of theatres, I've heard noises that I guess I would say, if I wanted to construe this as a ghost, I could very easily say that is footsteps that I can hear right now.
Okay.
I choose not to believe, but I have on many, many occasions in theatres where it's late or I'm the only one there because it's early, I have heard footsteps across a stage, like in the audience, across a roof. You just hear noises, and it's so easy to.
Where in reality, it's just like 100-year-old buildings, floorboards
Yeah,
expanding
creaking.
one by one as the
Anything.
heat goes
I mean, I
across
suppose
them.
Yeah.
that's one thing I didn't actually ask before we recorded or anything like that. And I've listened to a couple of the episodes of this show. Like, do you guys talk about what your stance is? I suppose on like what your systems of belief are in this situation.
We sometimes do, but that also sometimes devolves into just argument, which is why we decided doing the MVP thing is a good sort of post-story debrief.
I do like as well when you and Ollie attempt to. The game is, what's the scam that someone in this situation is trying to pull by bringing a ghost in?
Yeah.
So like, oh, this is about property value or something, or
Well, this is about a barber trying to advertise his services over someone else's.
yeah, or oh, this is a difficult family member with a mental illness that we are telling people, oh, it's a ghost in the cellar. Don't worry about that. Like,
Well, yeah, I suppose there's those two different types of stories, right? There are
Yeah.
the stories where someone's making sense of something that is clear, like you say, oh yeah, that is absolutely a scam, that like someone is conning someone. And then there's that, like you say, you've been in a theatre late at night and you've heard things across the stage. It's just like, I don't believe in ghosts, but I've heard things that still creep me out.
yeah.
And
theatres-
Adelaide Ghost Hunting Society, if you'd like to pay for a after-hours visit of the theatre, I'll take a $20 bribe.
Do they
I'm
have,
not-
do
I'm
they
not
have any
accusing-
money?
I'm not accusing you of having done that, but I would be.
Do they have any money?
What, the Adelaide Ghost Hunting Society?
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
seems
if
like
they
the sort of thing that
exist.
they don't have.
I would say another thing about theatres is that because of the amount of shows that are coming in and out, nothing is in the same place for a long amount of time.
Mhm.
So your brain is so used to seeing, like in your own house, your own stuff, that your brain just doesn't see it because you're so used to seeing it all the time. But in
Object
a theatre,
permanence, yeah.
nothing's in the same place ever because new shows come in and out. So
Okay.
when you see something in the corner of your eye, it's way easier to do that in a theatre because
There is just a hat rack of coats stored in that dark corner where there wasn't yesterday.
Yeah.
Like when you're at home, it's like, oh, who could have moved that? When you're at a theatre, who could have moved that? 50 people in the space of the last 4 hours.
yeah.
40 of whom it's their job to do it.
Right. No, things have gotten bad. It's only about 20 of whom his job it is. Right. Another ghostly presence has been reported by actors on stage at the theatre. The 1940s actress...
Why are you shaking your head already?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
The 1940s actress Betty Jo Jones and Doreen Duke.
Is that one person?
Actresses...
Betty Jo Jones Story Duke.
The 1914 actress...
Get the sillies out now.
The 1940s actresses Betty Jo Jones and Doreen Duke, in separate productions, both claimed that their performances were enhanced as a result of feeling themselves steered into different positions on stage by invisible hands and
That's just
tugged
the spot-
skirts.
This is a spotlight operator.
No, it's the choreographer going, here!
I'm feeling more like it's one of those big crooks that would come from off stage. Like they're trying to get them off.
I love. Sorry, what did they say was moving them?
They found themselves steered into different positions on stage by invisible hands and tugged skirts.
Yeah, don't like the implications of women. Anyway, people would do anything to explain away being touched up by
the Epsteins of the theatre world.
Theatre experts have speculated that this could be the influence of the great Joe Grimaldi, who gave his last performance at the stage on the Theatre Royal and was renowned to be a very generous performer. Now, Grimaldi was a big actor, and they do think that he haunts... There are so many ghosts at the Theatre Royal. It's so many of them.
How generous was he with his co-stars?
Well, I mean, it depends what he's doing with his invisible hands while he's tugging their skirts. Okay, at the end of that one, and now for another one. Another great British actor to have performed at the Theatre Royal was Dan Leno. Okay.
Any relation to Jay?
It does not relate. Who died in the early 20th century. Leno had long suffered bladder problems and took to wearing lavender oil to help disguise the smell.
Oh no! Oh no! Who's casting him in things? That's the piss guy. I don't want him in my show. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be making fun of incontinence. I suppose that's.
Many actors have reported the smell of lavender suddenly pervading the air in backstage corridors.
Better than what it could be.
Yeah.
One actor, Stanley Lupino, exhausted after a performance and staying late in his dressing room, had the distinct feeling he was not alone and heard an invisible curtain being drawn. When he looked into his mirror to take off his makeup, he saw the reflection of the famous Leno staring back at him. Only later did he discover he was using Leno's old dressing room.
I can explain that one, I reckon. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
Please do.
All right, you're tired. It's late.
Yeah.
You're in the dressing room. You're exhausted. You look up. Dressing rooms are famously lined on all sides with mirrors. You look up into the mirror and you see your own face reflected from the mirror that's behind you back into your mirror.
Covered with makeup, so it's not the face you're expecting to see.
But I mean, he was very, very. He was very sure. He was very sure it was Leno, and so one would assume that means he could see the stains on the front of the trousers.
Oh.
I like when you said before, people would often smell, and me and Callum both went, lavender.
To cover piss. No!
Finally, and perhaps most dramatically of all, the theatre was given a most regal visitation in 1948, when during the run of Oklahoma, Charles II himself, along with his royal entourage, appeared on stage. Hold on.
I'm wondering where this is going.
Oklahoma.
Look, I wouldn't put it past a royal to do this.
No,
I'll have a go, and no one can say no.
no, sorry.
He's losing it. He's seen America. He's like, we've got to get it back.
I just got really confused because it said Charles II and I'd read 1948 and I kept reading the sentence and I was just like, Charles II was dead in 1948. And I'm like, oh, that's the point. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a ghost.
Charles II himself, along with his royal entourage, appeared on stage. After more than 300 years in the business, the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane, continues to please its audiences on both sides of the grave. The end.
Very distinct lack of muffin men in those stories.
What? Hang
Do
on.
you
All
know
right.
the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
He lives on Drury Lane.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
Hang on. I just want to circle back to that last one.
Yeah.
Hang on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
a normal production of Oklahoma was going on. And
Yeah.
then...
Oh, Oklahoma.
Oh. Wait, is that what you're doing?
No, that's how the song goes. But
Yeah.
And then during the production, a dead king...
Charles
And-
II, we're talking Cavalier, we're talking Spaniel King.
It doesn't matter what king it was,
Yeah,
frankly.
no,
but
but-
A dead member of the royal family.
Yeah, I know, but with
And-
Oklahoma, the set in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and suddenly a guy with a head like a fucking spaniel appears.
Look, that's bizarre enough. But then
just think
also,
he's-
an
I just
entire retinue of ghosts follows the Ghost King?
And everyone's like
What is this, fucking Middle Earth?
very confused.
They're just
clapping,
like,
and they're
oh,
like-
that director is a visionary.
I was going to say, like, this is an odd choice. Charles II is a ghost coming on. What are they saying about this?
I don't think I've ever... It's rare that groups of ghosts
Yeah,
show up.
that's true. Did they all die together?
Yeah.
Wishing that they'd been
How
at the
how
theatre?
did
did
Charles II
I'm
die?
going to look up how he died.
Please do.
Well, his father was beheaded. But no, I'm just saying,
Also,
like,
then if the rhyme's correct, he was divorced?
died actually. But no, my point I'm making about Charles II is that, like, if it was George V, no one would bat an eyelid. Is what I'm saying. If it was the ghost of George V, it'd be fine. It's just some bloke with a pointy beard.
Uh-huh.
You know,
He died in
someone else's bed probably.
Westminster, England, in Whitehall Palace. So he didn't die there.
No.
He just took.
Well, he did meet. They did say at the beginning. Remember, he met his wife
Yeah.
Nell Gwyn
Yeah.
there. So maybe
Oh,
he.
that's right. He was the one who was obsessed with the theatre. Okay.
I don't think he was obsessed with the theatre. Just people think he was obsessed with the theatre because before him was Cromwell, who was very much obsessed with there not being theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you though. It seems weird to die and then get your ghostly entourage to. No, you're coming with me, and we're all haunting this theatre, and everyone on stage and go.
Well, it's
Oh,
like
was he like a pharaoh? He's like, oh, the pharaoh's dead. Quick, kill all of his servants and bury him with him.
either that or he's doing tours. Like maybe that's what he does in the afterlife. And here we have we're on a production. Oh, okay. If anyone sees this, jolly good. But yeah,
The theatre didn't just accidentally double book 2 shows, did it?
but it's like Macklin. The thing I find hardest about him, right, is like he died many years later, but he's so bitter that he just immediately gets transported back to the place where he killed Callum.
Let's be like really generous and say that perhaps theatres are spaces where the line between the living and the dead are blurred and thin, and imagination runs wild, and maybe they're just kind of ghost black holes.
I've had an idea for a play.
Ghost
have
black
you?
hole?
Is it Charles II doing Oklahoma?
No. It's that you do a play, seems all normal, and at the end, someone comes in and they're like, stop the play. We've just realized that the person who was, they find him dead backstage, and it was a ghost playing his role the whole time.
Is
that a play
isn't
already?
that already a play?
Is it?
Like
I mean-
very recently?
Oh, there's
Woman in
nothing
Black
original
is not-
anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's not what the Woman in Black is.
Oh, okay.
It kind of, a little bit, but not the same.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's got elements of Woman in Black. It's got elements of
Yeah. There you go. Anyway, I'm a genius. Thank
yeah,
you.
it's got elements of
You do belong
Phantom
in
of the Opera.
theatre. Yeah. All right.
See,
Well-
and this is the thing, like that, the Phantom of the Opera, just like it says in that, the Phantom of the Opera is here
Yeah, but
inside my mind.
yeah, but he's not dead.
No.
No, but they think he is.
No, I don't think they do.
They think it's a ghost.
No. Oh, maybe.
It's a ghost until people start dying.
Yeah. But they all die in ways that could be
Yeah.
not an outside influence, like by their own misadventure.
Yeah.
Ah.
Cut all of this.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can get this episode down to a good 35 minutes.
We normally can. Well, thank you both for joining us, Amber and Ciarán, on this week's episode. I'm sure we'll have many, many more questions about ghosts and how they got there on future episodes of
Second-hand
Hauntings. Is it
Yeah.
Ings or Ing?
Whatever.
Okay.
That's staying in. Perfect.
Jolly good. Do I get my fee now?
No, but I'll play a game of Boulder Dash with you.
Okay.